All rise. Commissioner Nostine, if you may lead us in a prayer and a pledge of allegiance.
Oh God, thank you for the gift of this new day, and thank you for the blessings of this life. Family, friends, work and purpose, guide us as we discuss, plan, and dream together. Help us make wise and just decisions. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of preparing accurate written minutes. Recordings are overwritten. Following approval of the minutes, eliminating all unofficial records of these proceedings. Your first item is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held November 14th, 2024.
Motion approved.
second,
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes. Are there any guests here concerning county business? Hearing none,
Report of executive sessions held.
there were none.
First item, proposed 2025 budgets, number 24532, operating funds.
Motion approved.
Second,
Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
I will not vote until Mr. Honor please explains to us what his plan is to make up the deficit and where he is gonna cut the spending. You cannot keep voting no when we're running at a deficit of over $4 million without an increase. I have gone it through many times. The additional expenses that we're going through now because we spent down the fund balance. We have next to nothing left. We had to pay $17,500 to hire outside legal counsel to do a loan of probably around $6 million. We now have to pay interest on that $6 million. We don't know what that's gonna be yet, but I am looking forward to giving a report in June about the cost plus the lost revenue from interest from maintaining a fund balance. I don't know how many times I have to express, you know, our expenses go up, as you see in the reports again today, children and youth, agreements, etc. You know, I just want to know what is your plan for, or your alternate proposal.
I just feel we overspend all the time. I mean, one of the things I think was even like the courthouse project. We've run out of capital project money and we still haven't gotten all the bills in yet. And that was projected to be finished in June of next year. That we would have gotten some tax money in by then to pay for it. And I'm not against a tax increase, but I think this is entirely too much to balance the budget.
Well, you show us where we should cut. You always come up and vote no, but you never have an answer. And I think it's about time you start answering the questions.
So you're voting no to present this to the public then, I guess?
I didn't say that. No, I
I
asked
just
for
gave
your,
my answer, continue with your yes or no. Plain and
yes.
simple.
I want an answer at the end of the meeting, though.
Okay, are we,
Mr. Sifranco, I'm calling.
do we
back.
have a vote, or are you
Yes, I
holding your
voted
vote?
yes, because we have to, we don't have a choice because of you and Mr. Lukasevich spending down the fund balance. And people gotta know that that $6 million we might need to get us through the tax incomes is increasing every year. It took us how long to build up that fund balance? And, you know, if it was up to me, if we weren't killing the real estate taxes and the seniors, etc., we have to start building that fund back up because this is a reoccurring expense every year for the next 10 years that we will have to pay that interest rate. We lost our credit rating, it got reduced, meaning we pay more interest rates, etc. And I don't know what you don't understand. We have to take a stance. We are mandated. We don't have a choice on a lot of these things. We have to move forward and rebuild this fund balance. And this budget does not really address that whatsoever. We are just barely, we are down to the bones with expenses. So what your plan is, I don't know. I want to hear what it is.
Okay, we do have a motion and it has been seconded, and I think for the benefit of everyone here, we have a second, we do have yes.
You have a yes, and for clarification, Commissioner Notstein, are you not voting, or are you?
I am voting for it, yes.
Yes, okay,
I have to.
okay. Mr. Sifranco,
Okay, before I vote, I think the public, it's not a funny situation, it really isn't. You know, I sit here and I see both sides of this table. It should be noted that the budget comes with an overall millage increase of 3 mills. Putting that really where the county stood, and I do thank Jeff Weiss, our financial advisor here. We started this budget probably looking at about a 7.5 to 8 mil tax increase to try to meet some stuff and get where we were. So there was a lot cut out of this budget. A lot of wish lists. In some areas, maybe you could cut more, but we cut it down to about as bare as we could get, and still keep it there. For the benefit of what I've, you know, inherited here, and I'm not, you can't change the past, but the reality of this is, you gotta look at this year and what was done, and the last time the county had a balanced budget was 2020. Now, the budgets were always balanced, but they were operating within a deficit, where they were borrowing from savings, borrowing from things. We can dispute that and difference of opinions on how you go, but the reality is, in 2021, you walked in with a balanced budget. 2022, it took 1.4 million from savings to make up a deficit. 2023 took 3.4 million to make up that deficit. 2024, we were projected to take 5.3. Had we stayed on that rate, and Jeff's in the back, we probably would have had to take, we needed about $7 million to get into this year. So last year, to try to anticipate with a little bit of thing the commissioners did, institute a 3/4 mil tax increase. That brought us about $1.2 million in. If you look at what's before you, you will see we have between about $1.5, $2 million carryover. So while as hard as it is, we have to correct the past, what we have been able to do this year is hold the line. Because if we kept on spending crazy and going like we were, and I'm not faulting that, we went through COVID and everything else, that $1.5 million balance would not be there. So what we brought in, we were able to keep and offset some of those costs. That is huge, because that shows that we did work together and get it down, but we do have this balance, and we have things moving forward that are costs that we just were never planned. That being said, you may remember last year at the beginning of the year, we took the parking meter rates from $12 to $15. Should be noted, probably for the first time that I know of, and I'm not here that long, but we are going to take $500,000 from the parking fund to help balance this budget. Where did we get that $500,000? Thank you to that $3 per spot raise on holidays and weekends. And I will tell you ahead of time, you know it, it's going up again this year on holidays and weekends. We are not going to tax the county residents or the county people anymore to park here, but those on holidays and weekends that are visiting, it is a place where the county can make up money for services that are being provided, and this is proof of that. So you will be seeing that coming up as we move on that. Some of the positive sides that you may want to know in reference to what was done here, and I get this out now so that by the end of the meeting we can kind of answer some other questions, but the commissioners did make some cost cutting in our own office. We eliminated a position. We added a grants writer for that position, so it was kind of like a wash back and forth. Much needed position we all agreed on. Val has done an awesome job so far. Well, the county's not going to start seeing the fruits of those labors until those grants start getting awarded. And then that's going to offset what we were paying out of pocket. So, I mean, that has been a huge help, and it's going to pay benefits down the road. But that's down the road. That's planning ahead, and it's going to pay. The other thing is, you had heard Commissioner Honor say about the courthouse project. Yes, it was scheduled to be done by June of next year. We managed to get that project done by the end of this year, which has saved us some money. We have stayed within budget on that project. It's not that the budget project's over. Mr. Arner is referring to the fact that when they budgeted, they figured they wouldn't have to start paying that until the middle of next year, if I'm correct on that. So that does that. By pushing it ahead while we saved money, it also meant that we needed to have money. So in reference to the question as to why is the capital fund project being closed, because I am sitting here telling you, we are done with capital fund project. We are done. We've built enough. There's no need to have it anymore. We're done with buildings. The county cannot afford to get into capital. As much as we'd love to, it's not happening. You can't. The taxpayers can't afford it. So we have agreed on that and agreed that that fund needed to be done. The other one you heard Wayne mention about children and youth. Children and youth this year, and I think if I'm incorrect, Jeff, please tell me, the overall operating budget for children and youth this year went up $3 million. That's our overall operating budget. Obviously, there's some reimbursement from the state and all that, but that's still pass-through money that the county has to have. That $3 million increase, you can say, well, what, if you remember, and we'll go back, and you can't change the past, but you can learn from it. What we did see is that we were having a cash flow problem. We were laying out sometimes $2-3 million a year in helping children and youth. So the beginning of this year, we were able to hire a firm by the name of Sam, came in, and that has improved our cash flow substantially here in the county, that we are getting our payments from the state on a timely basis. But on the same token, expenses go up in there. So there's a give and take there, but once that cash flow settles down after this year, we'll see the benefits of that and be able to have some extra cash on hand. The other thing you need to know is when you look at this budget, it should be noted that why is it so high? I'm sure you saw it. Look at my notes here. I don't have my notes here. I think you saw where there was 911, $10 million. Why that's there? That's there because there's a pass-through grant. So we didn't add $10 million in spending. There has to be a place to come in and go out. So you have to show that income and expense. It's got to be there. That's where that $10 million. The general fund has a $2 million increase. Well, and we could debate this one too, but the county worked extremely hard to satisfy seven contracts are done, signed, sealed, finished. Everything we tried to keep within 3%. Well, those increases on 3% for all the county employees, and we refused to balance the budget on the backs of those employees, cost $800,000 and change. We also were told within the last 3 weeks that our health insurance was going up 11.5%. So when you look at those two numbers, that puts us right there around $2 million of additional revenue or additional expenses that the county just got hit between raises. And I know everyone's going to say, well, then why'd you give that rate? Look we all saw last year's campaign. Everybody in this county, including the county employees, deserve to be paid for their job. Would everybody like the 10 or 12% raise? I'm sure they would. But unfortunately, the taxpayers can't afford that. But their unions and the county negotiated in good faith, and we're able to keep that at a standard around the cost of living of 3%. So, I mean, that's where we sit with that. So, I mean, yeah, we agree to that. We have to uphold that and come in with the 3%. The other item I would have for you is, what is, I know you hear all the positives, and that's great, but the reality of the situation is, it's a $3 million tax increase. Are we paying for mistakes in the past? I try not to look at the past. I just know, though, that next year we are going to need to take a tax anticipation note of how much, Jeff?
Probably $16 million.
That is to get us through until taxes begin coming in. We already have lent adult probation or Office of Aging $300,000. Those seniors need to be paid for the job I can't call up the senior citizens tomorrow and say, guess what, you're not getting your meal delivered because we decided not to pay them this week. So the county has to have a balance there that we can continue to lend that money when the state is lagging behind on it, not to mention our own thing. Our goal is obviously to take care of that tax anticipation note and move forward with a balanced budget and continue to balance that. Is that going to solve every year? Can we say Mr. Notstein makes a valid point in raising it? So does Mr. Arner, as in not, but the reality is there does have to be something done. And when we started this out at, like I said, 7.5, 8 mil, to get it down to where we did, the commissioners worked very hard. We are not gonna agree on all of this. Some want more, some want less. It's how far you're gonna cut, because sometimes if you cut too far, then, next year, you're never getting a hole. You're never getting out of that hole. So when you look at that, you're gonna understand that this kind of starts that. It balances, there's a no-thrills budget here. I know when you look at this, and you're gonna see in a report today, you're gonna see some LSA grants. One item that was on there is our EMA our EMA truck, you'll see, is up there. The EMA truck's over 10 years old. We've been told that there's some insurance issues there. Can we get it inspected? So we figured before we put that, we're gonna try to get it through an LSA grant to offset the cost again, which Val's working, and I give Zach a lot of credit up there. They're working to try to secure that money to pay that. You also see where there's an LSA grant for the coroner. The coroner had come in and presented having us purchase that. The commissioner said, no, we cut that out of the budget. So in return for that, the coroner has again worked with our grants writer to try to get grant money to pay for that car or pay for the vehicle he needs it. Why are they needed? Well, because right now as far as transportation of those bodies and loved ones, it's at the mercy of the ambulance. So there is some, but they weren't added into the budget. And here's the reality: if we don't get an LSA grant, well, okay, then we're going to have to address it. But I mean, that's where we kind of stand with all of that. With that all said, I don't have anything else to add at this time. If you want to break it down and give it to you real simple, and I have it here because I wrote it up. Before I give you my vote here, it should be noted that there's 34,038 buildings on parcels of land in Carbon County. The average assessed value is 46,000 and change. That's where you're assessed. We assess that home at 50% of the value, as everyone knows. The common level ratio is around $234,000, $235,000. If you break this all out, you can do it any which way you want to do it. You can play up there. We could all play Bill Riley and do the spin factor, but we're not. We're going to sit here and tell you the way it is. The reality of this comes down to this 3 mil on the average home of the average assessed value of around $46,000 to $47,000 is going to cost you about $135 to $140 more a year. And I am going to personally tell you that's terrible. I feel extremely bad about that. We hate to pass that on, but right now, in order to meet payrolls and meet services that the county has to send out there, if we keep digging, we're only going to keep digging this hole deeper. So with that, I will cast my vote yes to advertise.
Okay, your next item is the special funds, item number 24,533.
Motion to approve. Second.
Mr. Honor?
I'm going to say no to this also, but I want to give a little bit of an explanation on this building fund balance up. And I think it was just reported now that we pay out the children and youth, we pay out the aging, and the state is negligent on giving us our money in time. So we're building a fund balance up to help them. I think it's time that they start giving us our money on time, that we can operate efficiently. Why should we be 3 months behind? I think at one time we were $4 million behind on children and youth. A month ago, we just, what was it, $140-some thousand for aging. So evidently, at the state level, they don't care about children and youth and aging if they don't want to give us our money at the appropriate time.
Mr. Notstein?
I would agree, but the reality is, it's not happening unless we convince those people in Harrisburg, and you know how difficult that is, that, they are not refunding or reimbursing the county in a timely fashion. And another thing that gripes me, these people from Harrisburg, when they run, I did not raise taxes, but who pays for it? The funding, and who pays for the services and everything? The counties do. And I, as well, have had enough from the state. The state takes care of themselves first. Let's go the example on the 4 magistrates' offices, over $1.1 million cost. The only thing the state pays for is for the magistrates. The county pays the balance. You have a fine of $150 for a ticket. Since 1977, the county gets $12.50 for those tickets. The police department gets $12.50 for that ticket, correct? I think it was increased one time when it was only 90-some dollars. Now the ticket is $150. Who took care of themselves? And we're sitting here since 1977. So we have to get on our elected officials' cases, and I do plan on doing that. You know, enough is enough. I'm tired of the unfunded mandates that we have to pay for, and they're not doing their job. They cut our funding in human services, about 14 years ago now, with level funding over the years. They finally did give a little bit of increase. I think it was last year or the year before, a small increase, but that still does not cover our costs. Every time they pass a bill, it costs us money. And a prime example was with the 911 fee a couple of years ago when one of our state reps, decided to vote no. I said, well, you just voted for me to raise taxes. Well, what do you mean? Well, somebody's got to pay those bills. Somebody has to pay for that equipment. Somebody has to pay the dispatcher. Somebody has to pay the maintenance for the rental, for the cell towers, for the backup equipment, etc. So I have to raise taxes so you look like you don't have to raise taxes. To make you look good, we take the heat all the time. Enough is enough.
I agree with,
Can I have your vote?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
yes, and I will just simply I agree with Mr. Arner on the fact that the state does owe us money. It affects things. However, growing the fund balance, I don't. And I'll tell you why I don't. Because we keep borrowing from savings. I gave you the numbers of how long we've done that. It's gone. It's not there anymore. Because of that, S&P lowered our rate, which means when we go borrow money now, we have to pay a higher interest rate. That is poor management. So S&P needs to see a balance that we can pay our bills until tax comes in. Now, that doesn't mean we have to grow the balance to where it was 3 times, but we have to get to what do we need and control what we need. And I agree with Mr. Arner on that and Mr. Notstein that we need to get to a point that this is what we need to get us through there. We don't need to have all this extra money. That's not the purpose. But we have to get to where S&P can come in and say, hey, you're managing this. You don't have to get tax anticipation notes. You don't have to borrow. And that we can continue to move forward. So we're not trying to grow this balance. We're just trying to get these ratings to where they need to be, because out the back end, the taxpayer is the one that's paying. And that's extremely upsetting to me right now. Thank you. And I will say yes.
Okay, your next item is the department reports, the budget transfer.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
There are no supplemental appropriations. Expenditures, approval of payroll check numbers 76311 through 76326. Enter deposit check numbers 6070541 through 6070964 for payroll paid for the payroll fund checking account for all county funds totaling $677,672.37. This is the payroll dated November 15th, 2024.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Approval of check numbers 247478 through 247624 for expenditures to the general fund clearing account totaling $1,052,355.19.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
The treasurer's report.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
The personnel report for county departments.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
The acknowledgements for courts and row offices.
Motion acknowledged.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Correspondence was received as listed. Copies will be made available to the press upon request. Next item, number 24534, Children and Youth, an agreement with Pinkeys.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And again, I'll point out, you know, some of those are over a 50% increase in some of those fees. There are increases in placement for foster care, et cetera.
Mr. No, Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Next item, number 24-535, a revised agreement for children and youth with concern.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
The coroner, item number 24-536, LSA grant application and resolution.
Motion to adopt and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Emergency management, item number 24-537, an LSA grant resolution.
Motion to adopt and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes, and I want to point out that this vehicle we're talking about was previously purchased through the Terrorism Task Force, but however, because of the rules with the state auditor, I guess it was, that changed things, that we can no longer purchase it through there because of the taxes and the bidding process, et cetera. So now it's gonna cost the county those additional $70,000+. Another example of state government and how difficult it is to deal with them and how they cut or make our purchases so much harder.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Emergency management, number 24-538, a training contract with Bucks County.
Motion to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Planning and development, number 24-539, the CDBG flagged activities report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
ZNA financial consultant, an amendment, number 24-540.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
The solicitor's report.
Thank you. For the Agency on Aging, item 24-541 for approval and execution of an extension to the agreement with Prestige Home Healthcare.
Motion to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Next, item 24-542 for approval of a banner request with Lehighton Downtown Initiative.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Under the courthouse renovation project, item 24-543, approval and execution of a change order number 1 to the contract with Casey Mechanical.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes. Take note that contract stayed the same. Please.
Oh, don't get me started.
Stay rough. Stay rough. Stay rough. Stay
I
in the
knew
budget.
that was a minefield. Next, elections, item 24-544 for ratification of an agreement with Xavier Boston.
Motion ratified.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Nothing further for the solicitor's report.
Any further business?
Under further business, I just want to announce the burn ban that we put into effect on November 3rd remains in effect. When we do a burn ban, it is effective for 30 days. We have no control to lift it. I know my rain gauge, I had over 8/10 of an inch this morning with snow being called. We cannot lift that burn ban until December 3rd, unfortunately. That's the way the rules are. That is state, not ours, but when we pass an ordinance or a burn ban, it has to be on for 30 days.
Okay. Commissioners' reports, Mr. Honor?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes, Commissioner Sifranco and myself attended a housing crisis conference or symposium up at Kalahari yesterday. And I thought it was rather interesting on the issues and, with how many people are looking for affordable housing, low-income housing, the difficulty they have with over-regulation in cost of building these facilities. The housing units are in the hundreds, the needs, not only for housing, but also for rentals. And the Family Promise, talking to them yesterday, they have 90 people on a waiting list for Family Promise for the facility up in Nesquehoning. And these are all, and I was told these are all working people that cannot afford to live in their homes anymore. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of families where kids are living at home with their parents again. And, you know, it's a shame we have to raise the taxes for this, to try to, you know, maintain a balance, so. The other thing I wanna bring up is under the coroner. I know, Rocky, I do have a question for you. You did say you knew two people that would have run for a coroner if it was full-time, correct?
Yes.
No, oh, you voted no for that as well, and,
I
because.
think one of them's sitting here right now. One of them is sitting here
Yeah,
right now.
well, I know that, you know, and the deputy coroner, and I don't know if you're aware of how many calls they've had this year, how many investigations, over 500 deaths this year, 160 investigations, so they're spending a lot of time, and I know your concern was before, I don't know if you ever talked to the coroner's office, and to get the answers you wanted, you made the statement at the first elected official salary board meeting that you wanted to know how the staffing level would be. And your concern was how many part-timers. And part-timers, doesn't matter how many, if you have 6 or 12. If you have a full-time coroner and a first deputy who is putting a tremendous amount of hours in calls, if it doesn't mean you're gonna call all of them out. It's gonna be one. Maybe those 6 are gonna take care of 20 calls each or whatever it is, but it doesn't matter how many you have, you just have enough of a people, force to be able to cover all the shifts, the vacancies, when people were on vacation, out sick, working, doing other jobs, etc. It just gives you a larger pool of people, it doesn't increase the amount of call-out time for the deputies. So, I must say they're doing a good job. They secured a rent-free facility at the former hospital on North 12th Street there. Need a vehicle for transports, as we talked about there earlier. So, but unless you really have been involved in responses, and many times the fire departments are called out to assist in suicides, body removal, drownings, etc. And I don't think you realize the amount, or most people don't realize the amount of time that people are really putting in to that office and what is involved, the reports you have to do, the transportation of victims to the forensic facility, and in our case, it's Lehigh Valley, and the costs involved in that. Unfortunately, that office has been left go too long, and I feel it's very important that we move forward that. Going back to the budget, the other thing we didn't even talk about, and I don't know if Jeff has an answer to this or not, I don't wanna put him on the spot, but what about the referendum for the open space that was approved for $10 million? Where are we gonna get those funds? And is that even included in the budget, Jeff? Bill?
No, there's nothing included in the budget because you haven't approved the bond issuance. That'll come from a separate
fund, but
separate
to my
millage tax.
My point is, it's gonna be another expense to the counties. We had pledged, what, it was $1 million just towards farmland, and they aren't gonna get $1 million every year. And, we're starting to get a lot of applications. I am not ready to approve any applications, because I wanna see what they look like, because in the future, we will be getting maybe better applications that are more in line with what the public is looking for. So that's another big expense that's coming up, in the near future that we have to address. And I've been warning for how many years that we have to do something about this. That's all I have.
Mr. Sifranco?
Just three quick things. Number one is, you had heard me mention during the budget, and I've said enough, I'll gladly take questions after, but the one point I do wanna make is I did mention about parking, and there will be, it's coming. We haven't figured that exact number down, but we're pretty close. But I want it to be known that that's not going to be during the weekdays. It's not gonna affect the county. We're not looking to pass that on to county residents. It'll simply be the same as what we did this year, which will be weekends and holidays. That's when that effect would take place. All other rates would stay the same as they currently are, because this is the people's house, the courthouse and the administration building, so you need to be able to get here and do your business in a timely manner. The other point I want to make up is the recount that's going on down at the election office is currently underway. I know they've been counting yesterday and today. They hope to have that finished by the end of business today. That is their goal. We hope to see that after this meeting. Obviously, we're going to be taking a stop down there to make sure that is on target for that. And finally, I know next weekend is Thanksgiving, and we're not going to be here. So while it's tough, it's been a very contentious here type meeting. I probably should have wore a striped shirt today. Keep these two gentlemen on each side. But I, as the chairman, I do admire their festive, their ability to draw their points across. So I commend them both. And keeping it civil here, we're still able to get some business done, and there is a lot of positives that are happening here in Carbon County. And sometimes you got to take a block and know you're going to fall, but you may fall forward, not backward, and that's where we got to go. But with that said, I wish everybody, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, the Commissioners' staff, a very happy, healthy Thanksgiving, and go home and enjoy your time with your families. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. I don't know where to start today. This is going to be. No, we do have to, I'm
Well,
sorry.
I guess we have to open and,
We do have a retirement. I thought it was canceled because
well,
it's advertised, so.
Just the,
Oh, just Sarah.
Business.
Sarah's council.
just Marquette presentation because of the weather.
It's controller, it's in your hands.
All right. I'm looking for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held October 17th, 2024.
motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Zelinka?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman? Yes. Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Any guests concerning retirement board business? There are none. There are no executive sessions held. Motion to ratify warrant checks number 41102 to 41111 and direct deposit numbers 7029047 to 7029471 for the month of October.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Zelinka?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman? Yes. Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Retirement activity for October, there were 6 retirement refunds, 1 superannuation retirement. The disbursements for October, the monthly benefits were $507,285.87. Option 4, $128,541.17. Refunds, $17,595.36, for a total disbursement, $653,422.40. The portfolio value as of October 31st is $91,930,785. Next on the agenda is, I'm looking for a motion to set the interest rate on the members' account for 2025, keeping it at 5.5%.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Zelinka?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman? Yes. Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
And Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
The next thing, I'll need a motion to reimburse the 2024 retirement administration expense to the general fund. This would occur around March or April of next year. It should be around $244,000.
Motion to approve, or do we have to approve it? Because we're not making an expenditure now and don't know if there's any.
In the past, they've always done it at the
Yeah.
November or December meeting for approval for the following year.
I'll make that motion to approve the transfer of funds.
Second.
Mr. Zelinka?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman? Yes. Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
And Mr. Sifranco.
Yes.
Next, 2025 cost of living adjustment review. It's required to review every 3 years. Is anybody interested in entertaining that? Hearing none, we'll move on. No correspondence received. Anything for the solicitor's report?
No report.
Sarah was unable to make it today due to the weather. Anything for new or old business? Further business? Meeting adjourned.
How about we start?
Okay, so you mentioned that a 7.5 to 8 mil increase was what you guys were starting at. Would that have addressed building back up the general fund or balance, but like what was that?
That would have addressed every wish list item that everybody presented to us. And what happens is all the departments come in and with a bunch of requests of what they feel their department needs for the upcoming year. And while we take them very serious, that's about, and I'm just sitting there if I'm incorrect, that's about where we were with that. There were some other items in there, but that was the biggest one. Jeff, I don't know if I missed on any of that, or?
No, I mean, it's capital items, it's requests from all of them, it's minor equipment or anything like that, as well as additional personnel and everything. So, yeah, it's just cutting out and not approving requests that they're put in for.
And it should be noted, there were some requests that had come through for additional full-time hires, which, you know, and that was, they were taken out.
Well then on that note, is that something that you guys will readdress next year? Should people expect a 4 to 5 mil increase next year? I mean, I know it's ahead.
Okay, let me just say this, if you look at this past year, we did a little increase to see if we could work, and we managed to accomplish holding the line and actually end with a couple bucks extra. Does that mean we're gonna pull the same thing together next year? That is our goal. Our goal is not to sit here every year and have to do this type of tax increase. Our goal is to hold the line, hold the expenses, and consolidate and change some services where we can. For me to sit here and tell you that there'll never be another tax increase in the history of Carbon County, I'd be a liar. So I'm not saying here we're not going to do that. It's just, and like I said, we can relive the past however you want to. I don't need to do that, but at times there is always got to be some increase. Everybody, let's face it. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are missing in all, and it's not only the county, it's counties, it's boroughs. The effects of COVID, and Ellie and I have this conversation all the time, are huge. And everybody thinks that this COVID money came in and that solved all the problems, and it didn't. And everybody's starting to pay for those effects of what all COVID helped, because there was false money given that everybody used and then said, oh boy, I hope we get that next year, and they didn't. So to sit here and tell you that that's gonna happen, no, I mean, but is our goal to hold this line and balance this budget and keep this budget where it is? And Carbon County needs to do 3 things next year if you really want to do this. We need to control the spending. It has got to be controlled. We have got to have line item control of the spending, which we did very good at this year. We need to do a better job at that next year. Number 2, we need to add no more full-time employees. And number 3, the county needs to find a way for our revenue to grow at an average of about 3.5% a year. Now, that doesn't mean through taxation, that means through other areas. Case in point, county parking lot, fees out at the lake, other fees that we charge throughout the year that could be to be raised. But the county needs to find a way to keep up with a 3%, which is where we're at. We need to be growing at 3.5%, and that offsets the cost. Now, the answer is always been, if you take the money that you tax, and then it's cheaper to pay for the loan. That there's truth to that, but we don't have the money to pay for the loan, and that's where the problem's coming in here. So if we can accomplish those 3 things, we're gonna be okay.
So then the 3 mil increase, and you mentioned a lot of things that it addresses, but is the goal to kind of maintain that line then, or does it build up the general fund at all?
If we do the three things I said to you, then that begins to self-correct it. It will begin to build up. That doesn't mean that, no, are you looking at 3 mil? No, you're not getting a 3 mil, 3 mil, 3, that's not happening, no. But what it will do is it'll start to hopefully start putting money aside, that when we do run into those offsets, that we have money, that we can take that little increase this year, and instead of making it a 2 mil or a 3 mil, that you can say, okay, well, it only has to be a third, or it doesn't have to be any. And that's what that is. Plus, the fact that we have to go get a tax anticipation note for $7 million because we don't have the money to pay our bills, it'll correct that also.
I want to point out that some of the elected officials and department heads were great to work with. Their budgets, they didn't go out of the way and ask for the sky or not a lot of toys on their wish list. Others were outrageous requests. So I want to thank those people in particular that bare bones. Some just the salary increase, just like everybody else, like the unions are getting, which we hope we can accommodate. So I want to thank those people, you know, for working with us, understanding some people just don't get it and just want to spend. And we get, those are the ones we really have to knuckle down on. It's got to end, and they'll tell you, in our budget meetings with the departments, I told them all, you know, that, hey, money is tight. And earlier this year, Mike and I met with all the department heads and elected officials and told them to watch their spending. In some cases it helped, some cases they don't care.
That's all I have.
Let me read this. We did get something in the chat box that says, get after our state senators and representatives to reimburse timely. So I agree with that, you know. Former employee, I won't mention any names. She's looking for her retirement check.
And I think one of the biggest things too, and is the commissioners took and I attribute HR, but Ellie also, our county administrator. We cannot continue to balance this budget on the backs of our county employees. And that had been happening a lot, and that's not fair to our county employees. I mean, everybody, you always got a few people that don't, but the reality of the situation is 99% of people deserve a raise. And when we were in a constant of 1%, and 2%, get it to 3%, and they worked very hard to get those contracts done. And that comes at a price. And it's easy to balance when you don't have to worry about that and you kick it down the road. And that's, unfortunately, the can's where it can be. Does it mean we can't adjust a little bit? Yeah, you can always adjust. Anything else?
With the parking fee that you're talking about, when do you anticipate taking action on increasing that rate?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I already had the motion.
It will be in January.
Shortly.
And it's just once we get the final numbers. Because the biggest concern has always been, and you might also notice, is there is money in the parking account, and the county borrows from that account when we run real low to pull it out. So that $12 fee that was paid last year, that'll always continue to build that account and think, but the additional fees that are coming in, that's where we're gonna offset a lot of this expenses coming to the county that we don't need to be taxing people for. There is a way for the county to generate revenue, and it sits across the street.
You know, one of the things I always was concerned about is the unknown, you know, what could happen to any of our buildings throughout the year, or unknown expenses that might crop up. In this, for instance, several years ago, had a partial collapse of this building in the back where some of the beams split, et cetera. We had to close for the day and had contractors in. What if we have a major roof failure or something, a major another major catastrophe or roof leaks. And we do have 2 roofs we have to replace this year. This footbridge here coming into the annex, don't look at the steel underneath, you might not go across. We're gonna put a maximum allowed number of people on the bridge at a time. No, it's not that bad yet, but it's something that has to be addressed very soon. We always have problems with, one of my biggest things is paving. You go out in the parking lot, accidents waiting to happen, and that's one of the things, I wanna thank Andy Muller for the funds he put into the, ripping the sidewalk out, the tripping hazard, because we had 2 or 3 lawsuits now because of people falling off the sidewalk, et cetera. So it is a lot safer out there, it made it a lot easier for our visitors, our pedestrians and everything, so he put quite a bit of money into that, and we did offer to pay for the asphalt, and we didn't get that bill yet. Last time he offered, and we offered him to pay for the asphalt, we didn't get a bill, so hope you heard that, Andy. So,
With the recount, is that hoping to have the results posted on the website tomorrow?
Yes, that would be our goal.
And then I know you said, the courthouse project is ahead of schedule by the end of the year, so what is the anticipated then deadline, when will it be officially done?
Well, I don't know, I thought it was like the week before New Year's, right, the last week of
Yeah.
December, I think that's what's
but there
projected it
may
was.
be little odds and
Yeah,
ends that
there's-
have to be fixed, painted, touch-up paint,
Yeah.
woodwork, et cetera. Not totally done, I would say, but getting ready to move the people back in, register of wills.
And to understand the way that kind of goes there is, that was scheduled to be done the end of June. And then you begin paying for that. Well, because we pushed ahead, it saved us money. Now, you're gonna say, well, how do we stay within budget? And it's still all the same number. Well, I want people to remember, back in January, we were, I don't wanna say sued, but we had a lawsuit filed against us by our sheriff. And we had to make some adjustments in the basement of the courthouse, the front of the courthouse, to accommodate those needs. So by pushing ahead, we were able to save money on that, and everybody in the courthouse, including the sheriff, working with us, we were able to save money, which is where we got that money to invest into the basement and in the front. Had we not gained that gap, we would not have, we'd have went over budget. Same thing in that gap is if you take the carport out here. Originally, that was not scheduled to be paved and completely done, it was just to be patched. But because of the head gain, or getting ahead, we've been saving money in those areas to do not additional work, but work completed that was not gonna get done in a timely manner. So between settling I don't wanna say lawsuit, we just say the filing we had and achieving that's a cost of upward of $50,000-$60,000 that we had to find.
That's all I have, thank you.
Very good. Anything further? All right, enjoy.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.